Well, thank you all for joining us on short notice, but that is what we were given, was short notice about a significant step that the House of Representatives just announced, and that is that they plan to defund Planned Parenthood as part of their attempt to rip apart our healthcare system. We are here to say we are outraged as women of the Senate. A number of women senators will be here to join us as well, but this is outrageous. This Congress just came into session. The first thing they did was try and change the ethics rule. The second thing they did was try to, their attempt now to take away health care from millions of women, and now they're going to defund Planned Parenthood. This is the party that ran saying we are going to fight to make sure that our workers and families have a better chance in America. And what are they doing? They're taking away women's opportunity to be able to be who they want to be economically and to make their own healthcare choices. We are outraged, and we are going to fight back every step of the way. You know, this takes me back to 2010 when Gingrich and the House Republicans fought throughout a campaign saying this is about jobs and the economy. And what was the first thing they did? Introduce legislation to defund Planned Parenthood. It is no coincidence that Pence met with the Republicans yesterday. He's a prime architect of this, and today they announced they're going to defund Planned Parenthood. We are going to stand and fight for millions of women in this country, for their access to their health care and to be able to make decisions for themselves. So we want you to know we are here every step of the way to fight back. This is wrong. And I'm really delighted to be joined by some of our members, women senators. We are united in this. And I want to turn this over to Kirsten Gillibrand to speak for a few minutes.
Want to go, Jean?
Jean? Right there.
American women should be outraged. They should absolutely be outraged. This election was not about taking away women's opportunity to get basic life-saving health care. And that is what this action does. Planned Parenthood is an organization that provides preventive health services, women's health services, and even life-threatening disease prevention. They provide STD testing and screening, contraception, PAP tests, breast exams, comprehensive reproductive health care, cancer screenings, and other services like the adoption referrals for adoption, pediatric care, and immunizations. To have one of their first attacks this Congress be on basic women's health is a complete disregard of 51% of the population. We are going to oppose this effort to defund Planned Parenthood because it harms women and children and families all across America. It's wrong, and we will fight against it. Now I'd like to introduce Senator Jean Shaheen.
Well, let me make one point very clear, and that is Republicans in Congress do not have a mandate to defund Planned Parenthood. We saw that in the election. There are millions of women across this country who depend on Planned Parenthood for their health care. As Senator Gillibrand said, this is not about abortion. This is about basic health care services to women. And here we go again. We've got, now that the Republicans are in control in Congress, what's their first thing they try and do? They try and attack health care for women and make sure that women don't have choices that we need in order to support our families, to make sure that we have healthy futures and opportunities. And particularly in New Hampshire, we have thousands of women, often the women who are at an economic disadvantage, who depend on Planned Parenthood for their health care because they can't get it anywhere else. And so what are the Republicans in Congress going to do? They want to deny those women access to health care. Well, we are here to say we are not going to let that happen. So the House needs to be on notice. This will not stand.
And I just want to echo what my colleague from New Hampshire said. I join with the women in the Senate. I join with constituents across New Hampshire and with women across our country and with men who support women across our country as well in being absolutely outraged. there was no mandate in this election to take away basic health care from 51% of the population. Women in my state depend on Planned Parenthood for all the health care services that you've just heard described, preventive care, cancer screenings. They depend on it for emergency services too. Like a constituent of mine in Rollinsford, New Hampshire, who was on her father's health insurance, a young woman. Her father unexpectedly died. She lost her health insurance that day along with her father. And then she had an emergency health event. She turned to Planned Parenthood for that health care. Now the Republicans in the House tell us they want to take that option away from constituents like my constituent in Rollinsford, New Hampshire. They want to take health care away from women. They want to take away our opportunity to control our own destinies, to make our own decisions about whether and when to have a family, for instance, how to participate in the economy. It's also part of their strategy to make health care more expensive for women in repealing the ACA. So this is an outrage. It's long past time that we stop trying to relegate, the Republicans stop trying to relegate women to second-class status in the United States of America. We are full participants in the economy. We are full participants in our society and our democracy. We deserve to be treated as such. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, thank you to all the women who are here today. All the women in the Senate Democratic Caucus are joining with us in this effort. We will fight back. This election was not about taking away funding for Planned Parenthood. We want voters to know we are going to fight back. We ask them to fight with us every step of the way. We are just making it clear, not on our watch. Questions? Yes.
Senator Collins mentioned earlier that there are a group of moderate Republicans led by Charlie Dent that would oppose this. I know this kind of just came out today, but have you started reaching out to any of them?
Well, we are hearing from some of our Republican colleagues that this was not the agenda that they planned. So I assume they are as outraged as we are, that this was an effort. We're barely in session now. And the first thing they say is we're going to defund Planned Parenthood. And I am confident that as more members hear about this and join with us, the outrage will continue. I'm delighted to have several other senators with us. I'd like to give them an opportunity. We've all spoken, but if any of you would like to speak about how the House came out today and just they showing their support. So questions? Yes.
How can Democrats fight back against this? How can you stop this legislatively given that Republicans are doing it through reconciliation? There's no filibuster.
I remind you of what happened in 2010 when the Republicans ran on economic opportunity for all Americans, and they won. And the House of Representatives became Republican. The first piece of legislation they laid down, including Congressman Pence, who was there at the time, was to defund Planned Parenthood. We fought back, we stood up strong, America stood up with us, and we defeated them. We intend to do that again.
If you look at the vote, the standalone vote that they had on the issue in reconciliation in 2015, and you do the math, it's basically a 51-49 proposition with Joe Manchin voting with them the last time. Do you believe you're going to pick up support?
I do not predict what votes are today, because this is now real. We have a President-elect Trump who will be in the White House who has been clear on his stance on this. So members of Congress in the Senate and in the House are going to not be able to hide behind their vote. They will have to stand with us and say no in order for us to win. We again call on the American people to stand up, stand with us, let their members of Congress know that this is an outrage. We've got to stop this.
So thank you for answering my question before I asked it, but so you are confident that, or hopeful that you will see some votes change now that you're firing sort of with real shells on this issue?
I would give a strong message to every member of Congress that you're going to hold the bag on this if you try to hide behind a vote. The consequences are real for women and men in this country in order to get access to health care, as Kirsten talked about. We're talking about pap smears, access to health for a lot of women in this country. Now is the time to stand up and fight so we don't lose.
This is maybe similar to Andy's question, but do you think that Republicans are overreaching and that while they may have had the votes to repeal the ACA, this would tip them over so that they no longer can pass reconciliation?
I think they are putting themselves in jeopardy by putting defunding Planned Parenthood on this resolution, budget resolution, and their process to repeal ACA. Because it will cause moderate Republicans to say they've gone a step too far. We're asking them to stand up with us.
Senator, do you have a special message for your fellow female senators of the other party, including those who voted in 2015 for the defunding bill?
I call again on all members, Republican and Democrat, who've stood with us time and time again, for people across the country, men and women who understand the impacts of what this is, to stand up and fight back now before it's too late.
Patty, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
So I don't have a message for fellow Republican electeds because they're not depending on Planned Parenthood in their neighborhoods. They're well-paid, comfortable people. I have a message for every American, Democrat and Republican, who rely on these services or know people that do, or have the kind of heart to care enough to stand up for the women that receive these services. I saw what happened when Chris Christie in my state cut the funding to Planned Parenthood. I saw in poor neighborhoods, doors being shut, hours being constricted. So this is a moment in America. Republicans now think they're elected with a mandate to do these kind of things. I saw just this week the craven overreach of the Republican Party when they tried, the Republican GOP, to gut independent ethics oversight. And what we saw there was the American people standing up and saying, we will not tolerate this. And so this is another point. We see that they will listen if enough people stand up and fight. And so this is the first shot in what is going to be a battle leading into reconciliation. And if enough Americans stand up and say, we're not going to tolerate this, we didn't elect anybody to rip out key preventative services, to make it harder to be someone struggling in this country, to get basic health care services, that I believe in women, that I believe fundamentally in this country, that institutions like this make us stronger, better, more intelligent, more compassionate, and more loving. And so, frankly, what I'm going to be doing every single day now leading into reconciliation is trying to wake up the conscience of other folks, trying to call to people to protest, to fight, to stand up. Because this cannot be allowed to happen. Too many people will suffer. The consequences will be felt by all.
Thank you. Well said. I think one more question, and you heard Corey. We're in for a fight.
I wonder if you have a message for the president-elect who said during the campaign about Planned Parenthood, it does do wonderful things, but not as it relates to abortion. He seemed open to keeping funding if they don't provide abortion services.
I don't know which Twitter to follow with the president when it comes to women's health. I would ask the president-elect to Twitter very loudly tomorrow morning when he does this, that he stands behind women and that he wants the House to back down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.